What are the top 3 tips to get into deep back bends? Not even just deep back bends, but 3 tips to get into back bends are, and people forget about this, is to really engage your legs. The more that you engage specifically your hamstrings, your inner thighs, the more support your lower back's going to have, so that ideally you're opening more in the thoracic spine, which is the upper chest. Okay, so that would be the first thing. And we didn't do it today, but I think we did it last time we did Camel Pose, where we put a block in between the thighs. That'll really help engage the inner thighs. You can also put a block in between the feet to just engage the legs more. The more you engage your legs, the more supported your lower back will feel. So if you ever do back bends of any sort, and you come out and you're like, oh, my lower back, it means you're not engaging your legs enough. The second part of that is that we need to actually engage our core, which seems counterintuitive because we're opening up the front body, but you want to engage transverse abdominis, they're called your TAs. So you want to be hugging in and up in the lower abdomen. I talk a lot about that before we go into the back bends. I don't say TAs, but that's essentially what I'm getting you to engage. Yeah. What to do to counterbalance back bends. So we generally don't counterbalance the back bends, but we neutralize. So after we've gone into a deep opening of the chest, right, then we generally, or I recommend doing either twists or hip openers. So what you notice that we did today were hip openers. We did 90-90 afterwards. What classes on the site do you recommend to prep for Camel? Great question. So on the site, a couple of things I would recommend for Camel Pose. We have the whole backbending series in the Body Focus playlist, so you go into that for backbends. Also, anything that essentially opens up the front body and opens up the chest. That would be the other part that I was going to bring up. So the next part up is that we engage legs and engage core, and then what we really want to focus on doing is opening up the chest. Right? That's why we did all those twists with the arms open, specifically today, was to prepare for that. What if I cannot reach my heels in Camel Pose? Then just keep your hands on your lower back, fingers facing up or down. You don't have to bring your hands to your heels ever, okay? It's not for everybody, because for some, depending upon the shape of your spine, right, and how long or short your arms are, going back and bringing hands to heels can actually create compression in your lower back. It's not important how deep you go into back bends specifically. What's important is that you're feeling an opening in your chest without compression in your back, lower back specifically, okay? Can you explain why we don't drop the head in Camel? This is a bit of a controversial topic, but here we go. Okay, so for a long time, myself included, if you took my classes on Gaia, I used to say it all the time that in Camel Pose, after you bring your hands to your heels, release your head back, chin up towards the sky, looking up or back. So our friends in the physical therapy world, or physiotherapy, depending on what country you're studying with the PTs, we have 2 of our main arteries that go up to our I don't actually remember if they're called arteries right now. I'm a little stoned. 2 of your main veins that go up through the back of your head and give blood to your brain are literally back here, and they go through the occipital, which is where your neck and your head meet. When we take our head back like this, our head weighs a ton. So the weight of our head goes back and it cuts off the blood supply that goes to your head. You're not going to necessarily die, but if you ever come out of Camel Pose and felt really dizzy or lightheaded, that means that you've stopped blood flow. So we're no longer really recommending people to drop their heads back. Also, because so many people have, because of the world of tech, right, where we're leaning forward and our heads doing this, our necks are actually very weak. And so by going backwards and then lifting up, you can also tweak your neck. So those are the 2 main reasons why, if you'll notice, I generally don't cue it. Now, that being said, in your own practice, if you don't feel lightheaded, you have very strong neck muscles, and you want to release your head, go for it. I would just recommend, as a teacher, if you are a teacher, that I wouldn't recommend cueing it in class, because you don't know what people are dealing with in terms of their neck and head. Yeah. What do you what do you include in heart opening classes? Themes, specific poses. Okay, so what we did a lot of today, so generally most people are tight in hip flexors and quadriceps. So we did a lot of quadricep hip flexor opening, front of the leg, front of the abdomen, and then lateral opening. If you notice, we did a lot of side waist, all that twisting stuff. And that's to open up the side waist so that when we go backwards, we have the space to come into it. Yeah. Themes, specific poses. So themes, what the theme that we did today, I mean, most themes that would happen with backbending practices are heart-centered themes. So you could talk about the heart chakra, you can talk about love, forgiveness, you can talk about all things dealing with the heart. Yeah. What do backbends express? Why do we do them? So the physiological reason why we do backbends, more so than anything, is, again, our whole bodies. The world we live in right now, like driving, texting, computer, all that is kind of this rounded spine. So the opening of the chest, opening of the thoracic takes us in the opposite direction, which is so, so good. So if you ever noticed after backbending practice, you're like, I feel amazing, right? You feel amazing because we've opened up the front body. The other part of that, in terms of the emotional component of that, is that we can, for some of us, right, protect our hearts if we've been heartbroken or what have you. So we also have not only a physiological kind of rounding in, but we can also have an emotional one. And so this allows, right, for us to experience and open ourselves back up into the world and say, yes, hello world. Yeah. All right. In 90-90, the hip on my back leg cannot reach the ground no matter where my knee is. That your hip doesn't, I should have said, I was actually, it's so funny, Lynn just asked this question. I was actually thinking that your pelvis never needs to come down to the ground of your back leg. So just to show you, right? So this butt cheek stays off the ground as I'm coming forward and down, totally fine. What we're trying to open up is the butt on the front leg. Okay. So the most important thing is that you got that 90 degree going and that this butt is on the ground. If this butt is not on the ground, no problem. Specifically in 90-90. Yeah. If we were in seated spinal twist, that's a different story, but 90-90, no problemo. All right, Roz, is it okay to use a bolster on your heels if you can't reach your heels in camel? Absolutely. Put a bolster there. No problem. Great question.